Hello, everybody. We will start the webinar in a couple of minutes. We are almost ready. We are waiting for a few more people to come on, and we are starting very soon. I hope you can see my screen and you can see us also. Yeah, we'll talk to you. We'll start in a couple of minutes, so be ready. Christopher, are you ready?
Yes, Thomas, I am.
Great. So let's kick it off. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on the 25th of August 2020. Crazy year. We hope soon it's all the crazy stuff is behind us. But I think today we're going to talk about something very exciting and about your BIM workflow and how you can integrate your workflows and your different specifications for your precast company into Impact. As far as I'm concerned, this is the first time that we try to do a full Impact webinar. We have tried a lot of times to have the design part, to combine it with the production part, but separately most of the times. So today we are planning to show you how to start from a small little project, go to the design part, move to the production, planning, and etc. through Impact and all the cool functionality in our software. My name is Thomas. I'm working for StruSoft as the business development manager. I'm a structural engineer, and together with me today, my good friend and colleague, Christopher Hellman.
Yes, Christopher, and I'm working with technical support and development. And I've been working a lot with production, working with production companies and factories together with Impact. Yeah.
Christopher and me, we both have worked a lot in the implementation side of things and start a customer from the beginning. So even though we don't work for a precast factory directly, we have seen, at least I want to believe, a lot of different processes and a little different workflows, which we will try to show you and integrate today into our webinar. So hopefully it's going to be exciting and not very boring, but it is up to us to make it a little bit better.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
We go to the first slide about the agenda, and Christopher can say a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so it's a very short introduction, and then we're going to show you the actual steps of the flow, as we call it, or the impact process. What is important to touch upon right there is what Thomas said there. I mean, we work with these implementations towards the factories, which makes us humble because there are different ways of doing this, but we feel that the program is flexible enough to accommodate different kind of setups and also basically different kind of flows. So what we're showing you today is like a mix of flows that we have seen from different factories, and basically a process which is in line with how the program is set up. So this is one way of doing it, and of course there are many other ways of doing it. So it's detailing, it's shop drawing creation, it's rough planning, it's fine planning. We will introduce a new feature, which is the element control system. I think maybe 1 or 2 factories out there has fully implemented this feature, so it's quite new. We will talk about transport planning, stack planning, and the difference there is from Q2 release. It's now visual. Before you could only basically lists, but now you can build your stacks and you can see them and you can move around. We will also go into the mobile applications because sometimes you are in a situation where you're not sitting at the computer. And for those occasions, we feel that we can offer a very powerful solution in the Impact Go mobile. We will also go through a little bit about the newest addition to the Impact family of programs, and that is the tender quantities. After that, we'll finish off with a little bit of a question and answer session.
Yeah, if you have any questions. But yeah, Christopher said it very good. A lot of different approaches trying to combine into one full solution through our software. And but before we start, because I know most of you today in the webinar are people who might know us a little bit, but you don't have so much experience maybe with our software. So a little presentation from StruSoft. We already work, as you can see, with more than 50 precast factories and more than 30 consulting engineering companies throughout the world, and integrated our software, either the detail, the production, or both combined into many businesses, especially here in Scandinavia. And yeah, we are highly expanding and growing, and with us growing, our software is growing also, and we're adding new things. And the webinar today is also going to deep into details into those new functions that we have added through the last year at least. What is Impact? Again, this is a very quick introduction. Impact is a central database, a central SQL database, and basically it is separated into the design or the detailing part, where you create your precast elements through different functionalities, AutoCAD and BricsCAD. Today we're going to see the BricsCAD solution into Revit, bringing models from Tekla, IFC, or XML and JSON files, and basically using this information in order, this data, this BIM information into the production module, which basically it is an alternative to the most used spreadsheets for production factories. Doing everything through the same database, there are a lot of advantages, but instead of me listing the advantages or something like that, which many of you maybe would like to hear, maybe it's a better idea for you after our presentation to see all the advantages and everything that that we are doing here at StruSoft, and how many are the advantages, rather than working with spreadsheets not connected real time. Of course, we have a lot of exports to machinery and lasers and plotters that you have already in your company, or you might be thinking in buying. Collaboration real time. Basically, this slide here is going to tell you more about how me and Christopher are going to work today. I'm sitting in Denmark, in the northern part, a city called Aalborg, in our newly made office, and Christopher is sitting.
I'm in the south of Sweden, in Malmö.
Yeah.
We are working the database is in Frankfurt, I think.
Yeah, and the database that we have is in Frankfurt. The database is on the cloud, and basically we are going to design, project manage, and plan for production, sitting on completely different sites with our global licenses. And last slide for today, a little bit, Christopher is going to explain to you what process we are going to follow, the workflow that he said before, and then we can jump into the software so we don't spend more time on that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas. Yes, so this is the last slide before we go through it, so to speak, and do the flow seminar as such. So what I'm pushing here is first the planning phase, which is something that we call rough planning. So we set an erection sequence, we set a planned transport date, we set a planned date for our cast, where we're supposed to cast the element. We set also a planned drawing date, which is the planned date when we need our drawings, because we need that in relation to our planned cast date. So that's what's behind. And most of the flow that we show today will be actually in the perform phase. So we will do the drawing phase. Thomas will show you a plan drawing. He will do all the building components and generate the drawings and everything. Then we will go into the production manager, and we will have our modules enlightened there up, and then we will do the actual rough planning, and then we will go through with the rough planning as a base. We will go through actual cast planning, putting the elements on a cast, go through the actual transport planning, transporting the elements, and last but not least, the erection piece. Yeah.
All right.
So
Thank
over to you,
for that.
Thomas.
Yeah, I want to hear everybody can listen to what we're saying, or I have two people at least writing here that they cannot hear anything. I suppose if you can hear me, Christopher, and I
Yes,
can hear you, I
yes.
think. Okay. People are saying they can hear fine now. I suppose it was the first couple of minutes. Yeah, thank you for that, guys. Sorry for that. Technical problems on the live webinar can happen. I just want to make sure that everybody's listening to what we're saying. So, first, great tool, Project Manager. The word says it itself. This is where we manage our projects. This is where we create our projects and our floor plans and our drawings and our 3D models, and we do everything through the project manager. So moving forward, we can use them for plan and for rough planning and fine planning production. So what I've done, so I don't do it here, I have created a building with 3 floors, a pretty basic small building, and I have created a floor plan. While I double click on that, then my floor plan and my box is going to come here into BricsCAD. So today I'm going to show you the impact design part in BricsCAD. Of course, you can use AutoCAD, you can use Revit. There are no limitations. If you want to know more about the other two, you can see some older webinars that we have made, but the functionality, at least in BricsCAD and AutoCAD, it's exactly the same. There is no difference whatsoever. First thing, I have brought a little excerpt, an external reference for some of you who are not very familiar with AutoCAD or BricsCAD, and I have added here on the 00 of my floor plan. And this is because this is the drawing that I got from my architect. For some of you that might seen our videos and our promotional videos might be aware of this model, but now I want to show you how easy it is to model it also. I will try to go as slow as possible, but due to time limitations, maybe I'll skip some parts and some explanations because this is a workflow webinar. So I'm not going into very much details on how to create everything, but the idea is that if you get a project, you get the preparations right, the edges of your walls and the definitions that you want to use, then your life becomes way easier when you're actually drawing the project during the process. So when I'm on the plan drawing, I work on the plan module. All these expansions, all these things here up until reinforcement, are what we classify as the impact design module, and we start from the plan. We have the wall module, where the newest function that we have developed is this called draw wall outline. By draw wall outline, I have created the polyline around my building, showing the different edges of my building. Select the draw wall outline, select the element that I want to draw, and for my external panels, I will use sandwich walls. Then come into the impact wall definition. I select the 420 wall with 150 inner panel, insulation of 200 of polystyrene, 70 concrete for outer panel. I'll say OK. And now basically it asks me to either select points, internal points, window, or a polyline. But because I have cheated and I had the polyline beforehand, I select the polyline. I don't want to erase the polyline because I might make a mistake and I don't want to draw it again. So I will select the gap of the splits. So when I split my elements, I split them according to cranes, I split them according to engineers, I split them according to my grid lines. Again, up to you. Here I have grid lines and I select 20 as my gap. Then you see an end cap is coming, which is basically the edge detail. It's the side detail of my walls. And for this situation, I'm going to use just a normal recess on the inner panel one. I'll say, OK, I'll use this one. You see, already the first walls are being created. This function, draw wall outline, you can create actually L walls or U-shaped walls if that's something that you are doing in your company. But because here in Scandinavia we're not so much used to it, I'm going to press all verticities, which means that if I press A and enter, then all the corners are going to be marked, are going to be splitted. So my walls are splitted in corners, and the only thing I have to do, select my grid lines and start splitting my walls according to the grid lines as I promised you. So I split my walls according to the grid lines. I'll do that here. I'll do that from this side also. You see now that my walls are got some length and I can see where the split is. The same follow around and I can press continue. And very fast you will see how a whole floor of sandwich wall is created. That took less than 12 seconds and we're working on the cloud. Now we see them from top. So you see 2D lines and polylines. However, if we see in reality, this is a full 3D model. It's an entity, it's an assembly with lifters, bracings, edge details, and no casting materials yet, except for the ones that we have decided we want to, that comes automatically, such as lifters and bracings. So if I see my project from above, I can continue and try to fix a little bit my edges, because a lot of you will say to me that I have my edge here and this edge is not the same as this edge. And unfortunately, this is not something that you can correct through the draw wall outline function. But due to many options and due to many things that you can do in the design, I can select those two walls, press this function called connect wall, and basically apply the new joint onto my walls. A joint like that, which is basically the same as this joint. And when I say OK, I can start working around and making apply, update all. And now I have the edge from my left side looking like the one on the right side. In the same manner, I can make this corner look this one. I can just press enter. So the command is being repeated. Press OK, say apply, update all, and you can see the split here. The last one, due to, of course, time, Christopher is going to be mad at me if I take more of the time that I promised him. So I will connect this one and make it look like this side, basically. So I'll say apply again, and update on. So I have worked around my walls. I have done my corners, and as you will see, I have not added any connectors, any wire loops, or any plates, any end plates, or anything to connect them with. We call them in the software custom materials. Of course, some people might have they call them casting items. Some people call them inserts. Some people call them different ways and in different languages. But in the software, this is the connections. The inserts are called custom materials. But before I add custom materials, because I want to show you something very cool, I will start and draw my solid walls, my walls around here. The principle is the same. We draw the walls, select my walls, start drawing the walls from here. I will go and say right. You see the manipulation of this. Then I press enter 3 times. 1 to close, 1 to open the command again, and 1 to start drawing again. So I will press left and draw the wall all the way up. And in the same manner, I will do that from here. If I can snap, of course. So I draw my walls. As you see, I draw half of those walls because I would like to show you again something more later regarding this is a symmetrical building. So I think it would be nice if I finish this part and then I can try to mirror them and see what happens. So now I have added my walls and my sandwich walls. So the second step, except for drawing, now I have drawn the geometries, and this is step number 1. I personally, when I work with the detailing, I separate it. When I use impact, I separate into 3 steps. I do the geometry, then I add all the important information to my assemblies, such as windows, casting materials, electrical keys, opening recesses, everything that I need to do. And in the end, I save them. And when I save them, I basically save them into impact and save them into the database. So I give my entities the proper information, the actual properties, and then from that I generate the shop drawings, and that is the third and final step. So we are still on the first step, drawing our inserts and our geometries. So I can select all of my walls, and I want to add custom materials that connect those connections. So I have prepared a little template, custom material template, we call it. Select the walls, press enter. Select my custom material template. You will see now basically what it does. The software works down here on the bottom left. What it does is scans every single wall in a very fast and short amount of time, and see according to my edges if I can add any custom materials that I would like to have. So basically what I did here is add custom materials, wire loops in this specific position, in this specific example, because this is the custom materials that we are using in Scandinavia, or at least in Denmark specifically. I know in Sweden they are using something different. And you add them like that, and then if you see, you have added them also on a specific distance from the top, a distance from the bottom, and a distance in between them. Of course, all these things are fully changeable or modifiable, or you can manipulate all this information. But I just want to show you how easy it is to apply custom materials, especially on edges on a whole building. And this is what the custom material template does. So having done that, I would like to start also working a little bit more into the detail of my walls. So I can create a connection between those 2 walls. I can connect walls here. Identifying different joints, This is with wire loops. Again, I will select this one. I'll say okay. Now, what I didn't show you before, because it was matching my example, is that when I have a joint like that, of course, it is two ways in the corner. I can either extend this wall and shorten this wall on the right side, or I can extend the right wall and go it all the way to the left. So if I say next, if I press enter now, you see that the joint changed. So I extended my horizontal wall and or the horizontal visibility of the wall, right? And I shortened the one that comes from the vertical side. I say next again, and then apply, and then update all, and my wall definition is done. I can also connect a joint like that with a continuous wall, with a continuous and a corner wall without having to split them, as long as I can produce a wall that long. In that sense, can select again, connect. I think this is the right one. Yeah, this is with the wire loops. Basically what I am doing, I take the continuous walls, making an opening on the continuous wall, adding the wire loop, doing the same for the other one. I press OK, select the distances, apply, update all, and have my solution right here. Of course, I'm not going to do all the corners. This is just as an example. Next step, and Christopher will agree with me, one of the most important things when I create walls is to actually be able to go through them. So I will try to draw some openings, and for my sandwich walls, I will draw door, and I will draw my windows. And in order to draw the walls, I have some definitions here. I draw a door here, draw another door here, maybe draw a door here, a door here, another one maybe here, and another one here. Okay, maybe let's make this one also. Perfect. This one is not perfect though. The snapping was not right, so I can just do it again. Perfect. So I drew my doors for my sandwich walls. I can draw also some windows for the sandwich walls. The same way, draw openings, sandwich walls. The thickness of the wall comes automatically. Have this 1 by 1 meter window. I add it also onto my definition. I'll add a window here, and I will add a window here. In the same manner, I'll add a window here, maybe a window here. So, as you will see now, I have my windows and my doors, but they are black. They are not connected to the assembly. You see my assemblies are basically green, which green means they are productable. I can produce them in my factory. Red means that according to the settings that I have into my database, I can produce them in the factory. It means it is too big for me, this sandwich wall. Of course, this is easily fixable, but I'm not working in a factory. My settings are StruSoft settings. We don't produce any actual walls, so this is just an error. Not an error. It is just a limitation that we have set in our standard. Every standard is different. Every company is different, and the flexibility that the software gives you is great. Again, this, I want to say it one more time, this is the process that you mostly follow for all elements, for slabs, for hollow cores, for columns, beams. I'll show you walls, I'll show you some hollow cores and some balconies, some solid slabs, and And if you want to know more specifics about holocores, for example, we have another webinar next week, and you are going to be able, if you attend it, to see more details into the holocore. Of course, edge details on the walls can be applied on top, on bottom, every side, or in front. We can make different facade, different wall ties, and everything. But back to our topic now. How do I add those different blocks into my assembly? So I just have to select my model, go to this excellent function called edit wall, select that I want to do it for my sandwich walls, and then I have the possibilities of seeing the properties, adding, removing, changing length and height, flipping the cast orientation, or of course pressing exit. In this case, I'll press add, which means adding all of those blocks into my assemblies. I say update all. You will see very fast that my black blocks are going to become green and part of the assembly. Excellent. So if I show you here, you will see now I have to press exit. You will see now that the door, it is actually part of the wall. The window is part of the wall, and this door is part of the wall. So of course I can add a door just for Christopher, so she doesn't becomes angry at me on my walls. So I can go through the walls, and I can, see. I can change this, use the name, and I can just add a quick little.
Some doors inside the building is always nice, and many other design softwares, they have the same feature that you can put indoors.
I just thought that because I show the doors on the outside walls, then it is not very necessary to show the inside ones, but then you will be, okay, how can I enter in there? And I'll be like, you are absolutely right. So I will do the same thing, properties, add, update all. Excellent. If you might notice, maybe you didn't, the lifters and the bracings were changed a little bit in position, because actually every time I make an opening, they recalculate the center of gravity, and they are placed according to the center of gravity. If you don't want to have automated lifters, we can take them away and you can place them yourselves, even though we always say that lifters are one of the most important things to do. So I have added some openings. I have added my casting materials, at least. I have not mirrored my walls, which I'm going to do now. Great function, select the walls, go here on the wall, mirror wall, select the sender. I will select the sender here, select the second item mirror line, and then it is basically done. One thing I didn't show you, of course, there is a possibility to connect sandwich with solid walls according to your specifications. I have this joint here. Again, wire loops, a solid wall, a 200 millimeters wall, come here, or the two 420s, press OK. Distance right, and then apply, update all, and you will see that the position of the sandwich wall is changed and the wire loops is added. I can do the same from this side. Date. Okay. Next, apply and update all. Basically, the most useful functionality here is to press enter all the time, and everything is going to be fine. So I have again a little bit of my model here. I can see it in 3D if I want to, but in order to be able to see it in the project manager, I need to save it. And also, Christopher can start working a little bit on the production side. So if I want to save it, I will select my walls, and if I select them on the order that I want them to be named, starting from 01 going to 20 or 15, then they are going to be saved in that order. If that's not what I want, then I can just select them, all of them together, and the software is going to give them a name by itself. But by doing that, I also selecting them on the way that I want them to be erected. Actually, which gives Christopher a heads up, which gives my planner a heads up, and can plan them instead of clicking it itself. He can plan them for erection sequence according to the element mark.
Exactly.
So I select my walls, very easy, save walls. The software is going to give an element mark SW sandwich wall 1, but I actually want to name them SW_01. So we can have a little bit more clear. Press enter. And again, the software is going to scan everyone very slowly, not very slowly, very fast actually. Is going to name them and give them a name. When this is done, you see, started from here, 1, 2, 3, all of my walls. Hopefully, I didn't forget one. 19 of those are being saved. And in the same manner, I'll do my solid walls, right? So I'll select those in that sense, in that sequence.
What is happening here when Thomas is saving the walls is that we're going from a drawing in a design software into actually data that we are storing in a central database. So exactly. This is really where we go to full BIM. So now we can not only open the drawing and look at the model from the design tool, but we can also use our project management tool.
Exactly, because now if we go back to the project manager and I press a very nice reload or update, it is up to you. You will now actually see the whole project here coming into full 3D. You can see the edges. You are not going to be able to see the casting materials, but that doesn't matter for the project manager because you can actually get a report of all the casting materials used into this project with just the press of a button. So I have my building, I have my walls, I have my IDs. I can even show you my element marks because I have closed them down, so you can see every element mark. And of course, Christopher soon is going to show you how to plan those elements. When I click, what Christopher tried to say, and for you that didn't understand, is that when I click on this element and I go to the properties tab, now this block, this assembly, has actual information of the height, the weight, the width, the length, the total height also, if we're having casting materials exceeding out of it, very important for transport. The net area, the gross area, the bounding box, and the mass. So I know that this one, according to the concrete that I used, it's 6.61 tons. And this is where the BIM information, the building information management starts from. But before we go into that, of course, I have saved the walls now, Christopher, so you can maybe start a little bit with the production, with the rough planning, and we can show it to the people very fast, very soon. What I want to show you is maybe I can very quickly draw some holocores here and again mirror them. So I can do that very fast. So I will draw the holocores. No, sorry, before I draw the holocores, I didn't show you that the creation of the sub-drawing. So I have my design, I have saved the wall, generate the sub-drawing, press of a button, generation of a sub-drawing on my template. And now I can just press this folder and open my sub-drawing. When I open my sub-drawing, I basically, according to the layout that I have used, I have generated a model view, which is where I'm going to add things. And I have generated a main view with my geometry, a reinforcement view for my inner and my outer panel and my cross sections. And of course, if I want to, I can have a solid view of the wall with the reinforcement, which we are going very, very fast to see. So I have the model. This is where the geometry comes, the casting materials, the measurements. This is dynamic. which means that if I come into my drawing here and I say, okay, I want to draw an opening, I want to draw a door, and I select this door to be added here, and I say okay, and I basically go and I add my door here next to my window, and I save it by saying MTO,
Material takeoff.
material takeoff, exactly. With now I have saved it into my definition. I don't know if you noticed, but you saw the lifters moved a little bit according to my plan. And then I can also draw the template proposal for the reinforcement, which is going to add reinforcement around my door automatically. And if I go to the floor plan, very fast and very easily, you will see nothing is happening here. But with the press of a button, update plan, the door is actually going to be added into my floor plan, dynamic all the way into from the production drawing to the floor plan and even the elevation. I don't have time to show you the elevation, but of course you are very welcome to contact me for an extra elevation training or looking into that feature. By doing that, you have everything here. I can even draw and use this 3D view of my wall here. I can include the custom materials. So when I actually go and look at my wall, I can see that I have the reinforcement and the mesh around my wall on full 3D view. So this is how it looks. Of course, I have not added any reinforcement into my end cap, but of course, this is possible and easy to do. This is for the walls. Again, as I said, we have a webinar next week regarding hollow cores. So now I'll give the screen to Christopher so he can start a little bit with the production, with the rough planning, while I'm drawing some hollow cores, which if you want to see in details, you are going to see it next week. And we come back to the design and to some more things a little bit later when Christopher is finished with the rough plan. So I'll give you the screen now. I will give you the screen now, Christopher. I'll make you a presenter so we can see your screen.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
one thing before you start, if you have any questions or anything, you can write them during the webinar, as you know, in the question, and the one that it is not operating the software is going to answer it to you, or we can take them all at the end. So thank you. Sorry, Christopher.
Yep, no problem, Thomas. So thank you very much, Thomas, for making this first floor of the building with these beautiful sandwich walls. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing the project management tool. So there are different views. Here I see the same thing basically as on the plan drawing in AutoCAD, but I can also select my my elements here, and I also have the same kind of view which I would have like a classic Excel sheet or anything, and I can manipulate my elements, gain information from the database or add information from the database. But let's start off by showing the visual side of it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the erection planning. And as Thomas said, when he did the element marks, the names of each element, he thought about the erection planning. So when I do this, I can use that. And what I will also do is I will actually add a crane immediately. And this is a new functionality in the project manager. We've had the crane functionality in the design tool for a very long time, but not straight into the project manager. So I'm going to actually start off by adding a crane here. Just going to put it straight there. Maybe it's a bit close to the building. And I can immediately do a load check. And as you can see here, the element up here, I can select how to color my elements. And when I did the load check, it automatically went over to crane check coloring. So if I had exceeded capacity for my selected crane anywhere, then I would get some red elements here. But for this crane, everything was fine. So that is about the crane. So let's continue with the erection planning process. And I've selected them, just marked them in the project manager. And if I wanted to, I could select them one by one, and I could use selection order. Now in this case, Thomas did the work for me, so I'm going to use the element mark. I just add the elements, push this add element button, mark them, select erection planning, which is in one of the modules. And now I can clearly see my erection sequence here. And you can see that they are sorted here after the element mark. So sandwich wall number 1, as he named it, is the first one that I will erect. But what I want to do next is I want to set a planned erection date for these. So I think within about a month's time, I want to do that. And also at this stage, I want to set a crane which we will use on the site for erection. Let's see. Setting the crane, checking all of these so they're fine. And when we are happy with that, I will press apply. So now that we did that, what can we do? Well, actually, we have a function or a module here that is called simulate, and we can use that. So we're going to use our erection sequence, and we're going to take a look. So that was very fast, just looking and playing, then maybe it was too fast. So we can see here.
Exactly.
Erection sequence. So let's go back to you, Thomas, and your Hollow course. How is everything going with those?
I'm just saving them now. So I almost finished the design. Perfect. Thank you for that, Christopher. I will show my screen. You can see screen. I was about to save my Hollow course. Press save them according to this. Maybe it would be nice to wait and you can just refresh on your screen so we can see them there. But now I have to go to my window here. Press date. You see that the Hollow course are basically added. I did this part, and as you can see, this part is identical to this part, so I just mirror them. The Hollow course are being done the same way as before. You can generate sub-drawings for every separate Hollow core, or you can just have the layout as is being shown here. One thing, and this is the last thing from the detailing part for today, is something that we also developed in Impact 16 in the newer version of our Impact, and this is called the circular edged slabs, which means before we could only do the rectangular edges, but now if you have weird types of balconies or balconies with arc shapes, we can easily do that. In this case, again, I have drawn a polyline, so I don't have to sit down and doing it here with you. Draw my slab, select a definition, and press OK. I want a single or multiple. I will select a single. and then I'll select my polyline. Now you'll see the first one that comes is this edge here and the support length that I can add. In this type, I have added already the support length that I needed. So the only thing I can do is add some end caps. Again, edge details and how I want to look. So in this side, I would like this kind of weird shaped or with opening shaped end cap. And then I can go copy to next, which means that this one is going to take this, copy to next. Or if I want to use that for everything, I can just say copy to all. Or I can just go step to next, step to next, step to next. And when I go to this side, which is my rectangular side, I can just change to this one. And I can say apply. Simple as that. And now erase the polyline. Again, I will say no because I might have made a mistake, so I'm not sure if I did it correctly. So you see, and then it took the shape of the rectangle. In the same manner, we are going to do this. Draw slab. Okay, single and the polyline. I think I draw this polyline. Select it, copy to all, and say apply. So I have a no. I got my, and then I'll save them into the database, and I'll save them because I want to generate shop drawing and be able to show you how they are going to look into the software. So I'll take the rectangular one, generate a shop drawing on the layout for my solid slabs. The process again, the same, the buttons are the same, just when we're on slabs, we're using the slab module, when we're on walls, we're using the wall module. So select this, open the shop drawing. And you will see that now I have edges. Of course, it doesn't look very good because I added edges everywhere, but I have edges and this is how it looks. And if I go to the drawing and I can see my rectangular side, my 3D module, how it looks in here. Of course, as you can see, my polyline was not extremely good, or the edges that I chose were not extremely fine. But if you have edges like that all around, it's going to look fine. The one thing that it is added also in the slabs is that we have the possibility now to add reinforcement on it, like we do with the walls. I can have a reinforcement template for slabs, select that one, redraw the element, update the leaves, no, doesn't matter. And the one thing that I have to do is redraw the reinforcement around. So when I do that and redraw the reinforcement in the 3D feasibility, you cannot see the mesh, but you can see the reinforcement across and how it takes shape across. So yeah, this is for the slabs. Again, I can easily select them and mirror them. So maybe we have a fully symmetrical building for Christopher to work on, and I can just save those two. And yeah, you can take the mouse. I can change the presenter so you can refresh and see everybody what you are doing.
Yes, Thomas.
Give me 1 second to press enter and save the element mark. Excellent. It is saved. So if you refresh the whole building, I think you will be able to see the whole model now.
Yes.
Yeah, the slabs up there.
So let's see. What I did now in the tree view is that I selected the first floor, and as Thomas said, I can see his hollow core slabs. I can see his balconies here. and it all looks very good. And this is, I mean, this is the power of impact, that you're not bound to let's say a drawing file, but when he has saved with the impact functionality, it is automatically sent to the database, to the cloud, can be accessed from anywhere.
Exactly.
Using the software.
You can show them also the drawing tree file. Of course, I have not uploaded my shop drawings, but all the shop drawings that I have created, they are going to show in there.
So you can see here in the tree view that all the drawings that he updates are placed here, and and I'm able to open them and review them at the factory.
Exactly.
Which is indeed very useful.
Yep. Sorry about that.
So that's good. So let's go back to the model view. And what we were doing, we did the erection sequence, and we did the planned erection date. And we did that for our sandwich walls. So let's continue with them. I just isolate them, and then I go into my element ID grid. So that can be, as you see here, there's one is element mark and one is element IDs. So if you would have, for example, a wall, a very simple wall in your project, and you would have maybe 50 of those, that would be one mark, but it would be several IDs. So one mark, one blueprint, but several IDs. So the ID is individual for that element. And we did the planned erection date here. And when Thomas was showing you a little bit of the holocaust and the balconies, I did also planned delivery date and planned storage date. I'm going to continue with my rough planning. So I select those elements, and I select planning, and then I select change date, because I don't want to put in every date for every element each, but I want to use the planning that I did and use those dates to set my other planned dates. So I'm going to change my planned production date, and I'm going to use my planned storage date for that. And I want it maybe 2 days before. I can save those changes. Same here, planned drawing date. I select that, I go into planning, I change my date, I change my planned drawing date using my planned production date. And this is of course a sensitive issue, getting drawings before you start actually doing your production. So 1 day before, I hope I can get my drawings.
Yeah, it's very tight, but most of the people know that it is a couple of days afterwards and after the production. Yeah.
So as you can see here, all of these dates are black. So, well, yeah, it's just a list, so it looks like that. But there's also a built-in function here. So, for example, I'm just going to set the date, the plan drawing date, and I'm going to set it to yesterday. And as you can see, immediately they become red, because this date has, of course, passed.
And that was about my question that I was about to make you, Christopher. Why is it good? Why is it very good to do this preparation, this rough planning? Like, what are you gaining through that?
I mean, I gain an overview when I look at if I'm looking at these sandwiches and I want to get an overview of my production, then I get a really good overview, because I have all of my planned dates and I can use them when I'm actually doing it. So I'm going to show you one more function. It's basically the same. It's the coloring function. So I say that, okay, so it's on the 27th. The 27th is still it's still okay, but the program shows these as blue because it's within 1 week. But yeah. So now actually they are ready for production. That is all I would have. Usually when you did the drawing blueprints, then the designer will set these elements to ready for production. And maybe this situation, I've just called Thomas and I told him, do I have the blueprints? And he does. So he can set them, all of these sandwiches, ready for production. And he will call me when he's done. And also, if he would have been out on site or not available or at the beach, I can do it from here myself.
Yeah.
Were you able to set them?
To set there?
To ready for production?
No, I haven't set them for production yet. No, they need to have a finished design. I think maybe there is a setting. Maybe it's the setting in Resource Manager if you're not able to do that. But because they don't have a finished design, that means that they basically don't allow you to set ready for production. It's a limit that we have added in the database, but if that is it, you can take away the limit and you can the limitation, and you can set them for production. No, but you can set them for production here in the project.
So you're done with the blueprints.
Theoretically, yes. Yes, the drawings are, not yet, but
really good. At this stage, I have my planning, and basically I have everything that I would need to do my cost planning. Would you agree, Thomas?
Yeah. You need to, of course, you could add the production factory and the production division, so we can see which ones are rough planned.
Thank you very much.
Are rough planned in which factory? So when I do the tender quantities, I can have a visibility on the factories and the divisions that I'm going to use.
Thank you very much for reminding me.
No worries. My pleasure.
So here I was using my factory, and then I have a specific division for sandwich walls. So I'm going to select that, set it like that. In the next step now, I'm ready to start planning. And actually what I want to do is I want to go into the detail view.
Don't reveal the features before.
The future is now. So what I want to do is I want to select this element. I can do it from the grid here. And those of you who have very, very sharp eyes, this took me some time to notice, but something happens down here inside the cost planning module. So if I select only one element, then one element goes up here. But I want to cost plan all of these elements at the same time, and I want to use the AutoCast functionality. Here I can select my alignment on it. I can select multiple cast, and I can also select cast units. If I only wanted it to have one or two, then I can just deselect one unit. I can also pre-select my my cost order. So I would want it to be in erection sequence, because then the first one that I have to put out on a truck would be ready first. And here you can see all my walls here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And what comes into play here is that before we've had the calendar view, which gives you really good overview. And you can see here that we couldn't fit this in one day. So we had to do some casting the day after. But when we go into the detail view, we can only see one day at a time. Added functionality up to 15 days is this function that we call multiple days. I will select 3 days now. I can also select if I only want some cast units. If I don't select, then it shows me all of them. So now it becomes very clear. And I can blow this up, make it a bit bigger, and I can see here. And inside here, this is actually the same 3D view as you get from the project manager. So I can see my concrete, my isolation, and everything that I want to see. So I can move, for example, if I feel that, okay, this one, I need to move this to this one, then I can move it to another day. Right. So that was some of the new features in the detail view for casting.
This is very important when you are basically rejecting elements and you are fully planned for the next 5 or 10 days. It was very limited, the view in the detail view, when you couldn't see 5 days ahead. So now basically it is way easier to just drag and drop things around from one day to another for the next 15 days, which is what we propose in the fine planning department, at least.
Yeah. And also I'm going to show you some other functionality. I mean, when you're putting, this is very basic function, but when you put your elements, I'll plan them on a bed. Maybe you would like to print some element labels so that you can print out later and just put on them. And these will come into play later, but I show you from the calendar view in the cast planning module how to print them. And that they're printed through the report tool and they come out here. So these, what I did was I selected P1, P2, P3 on Thursday the 24th, right-clicked and then printed the labels. And I get them here, and then I can send them to my label printing machine.
The whole idea behind that, this is very flexible. You can get different types of element labels. They can look exactly how you are used to having them, or decide the design of the labels with us.
Exactly. So the next big new thing in production, as I told in the introduction, is the element control system. And you can see here I can select my beds and then I right click. And what is new here is this, add element control. So these are element controls that are specific to this element type. These are sandwich controls, and they also contains a status. As you saw, the status on the element was changed. It was 0, but then when I approved it for production, after checking with Thomas, of course, in design, then the status was changed. And this element status follows the element through the entire process. So this adds yet another element status so that when you have done your control, the element will also attain a new status reflecting that you have done your control.
keeping track of the element from design to site, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So now I get a little ticket here. Controls have been added to my selected elements, and those were those 3 units that I selected. And I can go into one of these. And I can see that I have a column here that's called element control. It's also color coded. So this, for example, is red here. So what is happening with that? I mean, that sticks out a little bit like a sore thumb, and I should really do something about that. Especially if I'm on that date. I'm not yet, but let's play that we've traveled into the future. So what I will do now, what I'm preparing right now, is the mobile application. So bear with me for a couple of seconds.
So what Christopher is going to do is basically connect his computer to the phone, so he will be able to show you the mobile app and the functionalities of it. Of course, due to time limits, we're already 1 hour and 10 minutes. We knew this is going to be 1 hour and 45 minutes maybe, but we are not going to show you how to connect to the app. But if there is an existing customer and he has some questions about, he has not worked with a mobile app before and wants to know how to get it started up, can easily contact me or Christopher. We both work with a mobile app a lot, so give us a mail, give us a call, and we're going to come back to you as soon as possible.
That's right.
So yeah, this is how the mobile app looks. This is live on your phone, right, Christopher?
That's right. You can, let's see, is there any way I can show you myself? Yeah, that's me. So we're live on the phone here on the desktop. But what we're going to do, if you remember before, we printed the element labels. I can bring them up. These are here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan them. So I'm scanning one of them. And as you can see here, I get a status, I get the ID, I get the mark, I get the project, and there's also the storage location. If I go into this one, and I go into information, I can add a note. But for the most, I can work with my controls. Now, I didn't have to actually add the controls before. I could have added them straight from the mobile. But what I did was, of course, to add the control. So when I go into the control now, I do it one more time so it becomes more apparent. I select the control, press the select button, and then I get 2 different checks. One is simple checks. That is basically like a checkbox on your paper. And I get measured checks. And for the measured checks, I can go out here. Now I can set my tolerances and my design values. So I can fill these in.
Here is what you see on the side. The NA or the -+5 is the tolerances that the engineer, for example, has set. So as long as I'm correct on those, that means that I don't have to contact him. But yeah, Christopher is going to show you if I'm not correct what I have to do.
Yes. So these are okay, and I've also checked these checkboxes to say that I've checked them, they're okay. Now for the simple checks, I check those also, and I put the save in. And you can see with the system, it's very important. Each user has their own personal log into the system. So they are responsible. So not anyone can just do these checks. So you can see that my name goes up here. And when I'm done with these checks, then I can check the pre-production control, and it's done.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what I want to show you quickly here is that for this one, there should be some things happening. You can see status on the element has changed.
Exactly.
So here, up here, we have these statuses. So it's no longer just planned, it's planned and approved, which is important. And we go to our element control here, then we can see that, oh, we have a green light instead of a red light for this element. So somebody did the control and approved it. And this is of course the same thing if we would produce the element and then do everything that we should do before that. So I will continue with the mobile app and show you a little bit more. And that is something that we call issues. So we start off here. We have the element. We go into information about the element, and we go into issues. So in Impact, we have two different issues. One issue is quite a terminal issue, and that is a rejection. That is when an element is absolutely beyond repair, and what you need to do is just reject it, put it in the scrapyard. Now a disorder, that is interesting because that could be something else. That could be that the element has a small crack in the surface or an imperfection, and that actually it's something that we can do something about. So let's play with that situation. So then we have a disorder. So all I did was I pressed the plus sign to add a disorder to this element. Let's see if I'm still connected. Yes, I am. So I press the plus sign, and then I can create my disorder. For some reason, it's not actually showing. I will try to reconnect to the mobile again. It was not showing actually what was happening there. So yeah, slight technical difficulty. I cannot image or show that one. Yes, I can.
These things happens when we're live, so.
Yes, this was an issue with the video stream application.
Yeah, this is always difficulty to mirror your image and show it to the customers. But
yep. But we were inside issues, and I pressed the plus sign, and now it's broken edge. So I fixed the edge. And the reason, well, it was in production. And here I can customize and add sub-reasons. Now this one is important. So this should be assigned to someone who is responsible for issues. And this time it's me. The cost maybe will cost me 200 euros to fix. It would take me maybe 2 hours. And also maybe I want a photograph, something that is describing what actually the problem was. So in this case, somebody had put a toy car on it, which broke it. So this was the problem.
Perfect. Of course, you can add multiple pictures, right? There is not, doesn't have to be only one.
Of course. Of course.
So, yeah. I suppose they believe us.
Yes. Yes. So that is about that. And finally, what I wanted to also show you is that you can change the status of the element. For example, if you're on site, you could have a status that was erected or check it delivered. So customer could do that. You could also add some note. This is a free text file.
I've seen this file being filled with many different customizable things. It's an empty field in the database. If you want to take out some information from the database, you can fill it with docket numbers, ID numbers, project, product, except that we have product, of course, in the software, but different type of classification for the element, or some details to your people in the construction side also, right?
Yeah. And another feature that I didn't touch too much upon is that you can set your storage location here. So if I want to store it, I can just select my location and I can store it there. And then we know where the element is. So it's also very useful for the people out on storage. And I think that's mainly the functionalities that we wanted to demonstrate. Is it anything that you want to add there, Thomas? About the app?
I think the mobile app, it's easier when we see it, like we see it in a real project now, but it's easier when you actually try it on your factories and open it up and see what you can do with it. It's more difficult when you are not working in a factory to demonstrate the full power of the app.
Yeah. We can also demonstrate from inside the office that what we did outside with the mobile becomes instantly available in the system from every way that you can get into it.
This is the most powerful thing. Christopher Hellman, as the engineer in this project, he got this assignment on the disorders, and he can see immediately what is the problem. He can write a fix to the solution. He doesn't even have to move from his office, even though sometimes it's nice to get a nice walk to the production factory, right? But in this case, that's what we're trying to do: eliminate the communication between people and stop the mails and see the actual issues and the disorders coming and give solutions to them directly. So the person who is also using the mobile app can just press refresh and the solution comes to him also at the same time. It's not it's not only one way, it's both ways.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I did my cost planning, and actually I'm quite happy with this. And let's say that we're in the future and we have produced it. So I will set these to produced. But what I want to show you next is our transport planning. And transport planning and stack planning, well, they come very close to each other. Most time you can build a stack and then you put that stack on a transport. Sometimes you just want to do a transport and that's fine. It will also automatically generate a stack. But for this demonstration, we will show you the stack planning. And this will be the stack planning for these sandwich walls that we have selected. So we can we can select them in the model view, or we can select them in the element ID grid. So let's make it visual, select them in the model view, and then I select auto stack. So you can see immediately here that I put in a load date and it reflects here. Also here I can also set a load order. So I start with the one that I will erect latest, so that the one that I will erect first is furthest out on my stack. And I'm selecting an A-frame here. There are also, we have some hollow core stack templates and a template for an inloader. So using the stack planning module and any other module, you can actually put it in its own window. So I can just select it and put it on another screen. But I can also, as I did here, just put it here. So it becomes bigger, more visual, it's more easier for me to see.
Exactly.
So here we have a couple of stacks, and as you see, well, not all of them are perfect.
Great. Yeah,
No.
exactly.
So maybe this one, we can see that, maybe we can solve this immediately. There should be enough room here. And before I drop this on this A-frame, you should notice the measurements here, 2,219 millimeters and 868 millimeters. Now that is the center of gravity marking. So as soon as I dropped that element, it recalculated the center of gravity for my stack.
Very important.
Anything to add there, Thomas, to the visual stack?
Very important. There is a lot of new functionality here. The point of this webinar is not to show you exactly how to do that. We are planning again another webinar which is specifically made for the transport, the visual stacker and the visual transport module 2.0, as we call it, with new functionalities and new things. The most important here to know is that it is very flexible. You define your stacks, you define your stack templates, your A-frames, your L-frames, your vertical frames, the vehicles that you are using, and then of course you need to do some adjustments by hand manually, as Christopher did, because of course the software doesn't exactly recognize everything, in a sense that it's not going to make it perfect. The whole point of using a 3D transport planner is that you are going to save money by even adding a small little wall, even if it's from another project or from the same project on this side over there, from behind of the A-frame. If you add another wall and you make the capacity close to 100%, and you can see that it fits, that you do that for every transport, one wall extra, then you already saved more than 10-15 transports in a whole project, which is a very, very big amount of money. And that is the whole point of seeing that visually, instead of just having the stack layers and the stack numbers.
Exactly. So very useful functionality, but now I have done my stacks, but I'm pretty happy. But of course, I cannot transport stacks. So I want to transport them on a truck.
Exactly.
So then we have these, in this view, it becomes a drop down. But if I just do it like this, maybe it's more. So you can see out here, I can do a clean stack. I can do a clean stack from template. but I can also do an automated transport. And I've selected stack number 8, and I've selected to do an automated transport. Now here comes the rough planning comes in again here, because that was using those dates that we set before, those planned dates, planned delivery dates. So you can, of course, check that out if you check the box out, remove your check from the checkbox if you want to set it manually. But otherwise, you can set in here and you can set which location it's going to be loaded from, and then just add it to one of your transport templates, truck or trailer or an inloader. Let's try the truck. And I get a little receipt, it's planned. And now I can go into the transport planning module. I can refresh my data, and I will immediately see that on this project I have one transport, it's transport number 1. I have a load date, I have a delivery date, I have the mass of it, I have the number of elements, I have the status of that truck, and I also have the usage when it comes to load. Am I using the maximum? I'm only using 55%, so it would be really good maybe if I could put some more elements on this truck.
Yep. And if you make the picture bigger down on the truck, then I suppose it's going to be easier for people to see that. Again, 3D, you can rotate, and the axle pressure on the axle behind is also adjusted, and the axle in front is also adjusted according to the load. The stack is movable, and yeah, you can move it right there. And again, the center of gravity of the truck is being adjusted at the same time. More on this function, of course, on I suppose it's end of October, I think, or end of September, the new transport module in the new release, in Q3 release of Impact, we have some more functionality added on it. So we're going to see it more in details.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I can share my screen now, so I can close a little bit. I can close slowly the webinar with the tender quantities and the resource manager, if that's okay with you, Christopher.
Absolutely. We can.
Perfect.
We can do that.
Thank you for that. You did a lot of things in a very short amount of time, so well done to you.
Oh, thank you, Thomas.
I will show my screen. Right. So let me close that window here. So what basically happened here is that here in the project manager, I can manage one project. We have this tool called Resource Manager, and that is, for me, that's where everything, all the different parts of the software are coming together. This is more for the business, for the people in the management, looking down and seeing, okay, how much concrete we produced, how many tonnage of concrete we produced, or how much square meters of walls have we produced the last week, or the last month, or the last year. And this is where it all comes together. So I can basically see in my workload, and I'll go very, very fast on it. In my workload, I can see for a specific period of date, and for a factory, I can have 20 factories if I want, if you are a very big company. And I can see how much area of concrete I have produced for my hollow cores, my walls, and my sandwich. Of course, if I take away my hollow cores, maybe it changes also the full amount. I have 187 square meters of rough plant on week 39, while I have 182 extra that they are fine plant. When they are fine plant, that means that they are sitting on a bed. When they are rough plant, that means that we have given them a production date to be produced at that date. but our production planner has not picked them up for fine planning because they don't have a full production, or they are not ready for production yet. So, but we know in our system that those 370, 369 square meters of concrete are going to be produced. When I set them in the bed, these are going to turn green, and I'm going to have a full fine plant elements for that week, and that is the whole point. Resource manager, very quickly, you can do all the planning combination of projects, so you can add 20 or all the projects in the database. You can just press refresh data. I'm not going to do it for all of my projects and spend another 5 minutes for 20, 30, 50,000 elements to come here, but everything that is unplanned, you can bring it here, and you can use the same functionality as Christopher just showed you. All the production
basically, project manager is managing one project, but of course, from a factory perspective, most often you don't have one project, but you have many projects. So basically what Thomas is saying is that for the planning, I can bring out and I can filter out all of the projects that I want to do planning on, and then the modules that I showed you, the cost planning, the stack planning, the transport planning, all of that exactly the same is in the resource manager.
So I can bring transports from different projects, I can bring stack plannings from different projects, and of course see the whole calendar for my factory, and I can move things around, connect projects together, because this is not possible from the project manager. And here is where I can see a full idea of my controls, of course, all of the elements that they ever got control, and disorders and rejections. I can see them. I already see here the disorder. I can say again disorders and see the broken edge.
And the broken edge problem there, of course.
Oh, I'm on the, sorry.
And you can also, I mean, for the issues in the resource manager, both the rejections and the disorders have their own tabs.
So I'm sitting here, but I also got the pictures Christopher just added, and I can also go here, and after it is resolved, I can say resolved and resolve make it green, resolve the disorder of broken edge coming from this project. Rejections the same way, controls again, different functionalities, more things in the resource manager, but I wanted to start with the workload, so I make the first introduction. I'm very happy to do that. Make the first introduction into Impact Tender. This is a new module working with a license of Resource Manager. And what we do here is basically, instead of rough planning elements, we rough planning elements that they are not existing in the software. And maybe this is something more for our existing customers, but it's nice to know that there is the possibility to do that already into Impact. And when we open Impact Tender, we don't have to do a lot of things. We just need to create our product classification in the settings, which means that are we going to do it by element type or by element group. This is a field in the database used for classification of elements according to products or groups. And again, this is something that we just released. It is very new. We are adding functionality to it. It's not perfect, and it's called tender quantities, because at the moment it combines the rough planning and the fine planning from Resource Manager according to the splittings, the production groups that I want to use here. In this case, I have used the production groups according to element types. So I use the sandwich walls, the holocores, and the columns. And when I do that, I can create capacities for every factory that I have according to my production group classification. This is very flexible. you can use whatever you want here. You can use your bed types. You can use your, according to your, again, different types of products, different types of groups, different types of classification of elements. You can say this is a production division, but not exactly. You can divide your elements into the elements that you get for forecast. So you can see all across your business with different graphs what you are getting and how much capacity you have left. At least that is the point of it. The parameters, it can be area, length, mass, piece, or volume, again taken from the database from the existing problems. And then the last step is to basically map your element types to the corresponding production group. In order to keep it very simple here, as a very quick introduction, it can become very complicated, but in order to keep it simple, I have added the holocores for my holocores, the walls for my walls, my sandwich for my sandwich, and my columns for columns. The difference here is, instead of creating a real project into Impact, or I create a real project into Impact, but instead of creating a project that it is, if we see here in the project properties, a project that it is in production, I can actually go and create a pre-phase project. When I create a pre-phase project, I can open a project that I have made now, here, this one, and I can say that this project has, that I have already bid on and I'm ready to work on. I have created a project of, I have the outer panels, I have the inner panels, I have my slabs. I get a quantity of 3,300 square meters of walls, outer walls, 3,150 square meters of solids, and 3,000 square meters of holocores. The parameter, as you can see, is the area. I can set different colors according to me having the project 100% or having the project 60%. This will help in the visibility later. And then I can either do a manual calculation from which week to which week and calculate a weekly pace, how much of that I will produce in my beds, or and tables, or I can actually set the start date, the end date, and the software assign it to a factory, and the software is going to do the weekly pace for me. The possibilities is to set the start date and the pace, so the software is going to calculate the end date, the pace and the end date, so it will tell you more or less when you need to start, and the start and the end date. Or of course, when you see that, and that is the most important, when I go to my workload, I select my project, from the 3rd of August until the 18th of November, I can press refresh chart. I can see that already here that I'm exceeding my capacity by far, or at least the capacity that I have set. So when I'm doing that, I can see I have the fine plant, the rough plant elements, at least the sandwich walls, and now I have added on top of that the capacity from this project. I can bring all of the projects in the database or specific projects. If I bring all of the projects all the time, then I keep an overview of all of my factories. I can change the production group from sandwich to walls by just selecting that and refreshing the chart. And I can see here that my capacity is actually pretty fine for the next 15 weeks. Again, this is per factory specific. We are adding a lot of things. Is going to be highly developed and turned into something very nice. At the moment, it is the functionality, it is simple. And again, I want to say that it is developed at this point to just give you an overview of, we give you an overview of the, how do you call it, excuse me, we give you an overview of the factory, and instead of creating projects and adding elements, maybe by Excel files or making a preliminary design, you don't need to do that anymore. You can just make, I'll get those hundreds of square meters of walls in the next, I have bid on it, I'm most likely going to get it, so I know next year what I'm going to work on. When you start working on the project, you change the pre-phase type. In the project manager into production, and you start drawing your walls as we showed you with Christopher. That is for me. I didn't want to show anything more here. We already spent an hour and 45 minutes. So anything that you would like to add, Christopher, here? Anything that might we forgot?
No, I mean, it's a big, the flow seminar here and the seminar here, it shows the full impact process. So
Yeah,
we understand that it's a lot to take in, but we still want to show the full power of the system, that you can go from a project, you can go from a design, you can go to do all the planning that you need in a very, very short time period. And that it's one system, it gives you full overview of all your concrete elements and all of your planning processes. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is a lot to take in. Again, this is, of course, as we said in the beginning, a process or a software built in many years. We have more than 30 years of experience in the business, and it is difficult to show everything from start to finish in an hour 45 minutes, and we don't want to fool anybody. We know it takes not 1 hour and 45 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. It is a very big process. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit lost because I'm looking at some of the questions. I'm looking at some of the questions here, and I have a question from a person saying from Wahid, sorry. He says, like, if we're going to get the presentation after the webinar, and I'll make sure that all of the people attended and the people participated when we upload it on YouTube, most likely tomorrow. We are going to send you an email with the presentation where you can see that. So if you have people you want to share this presentation with, we always keep track of our webinars in YouTube, and maybe it would be nice to show that we have a channel in YouTube. If it's allowed, we have a channel in YouTube. Maybe you can see my screen still, where we have the Impact Precast and we have the webinars. So when you go here, you will be able to see in that playlist all the latest webinars that we have done, all the ones in the beginning, and our newest webinar is going to be added on top tomorrow afternoon, most likely. Thank you, Wahid, that you like the webinar. We have a question from Paul. He would like to see the data again, and he would like a little bit to explain more about the data possibilities. And I get, again, it's a little bit to take in when you haven't seen something like that before. But the whole point of those graphs is that when I set a capacity per factory and add the data that I have, and that is the BIM workflow, right? I bring entities, I bring real precast walls into life, into the software. They are not lines and polylines anymore. They are entities, they are assemblies, and all this information is being stored in the central database. And when it is stored in the central database, I can export everything that I want. I can connect all this information with my own homegrown system or with an external ERP system, or like it is the possibilities. I have seen, as you most likely, Christopher, many different things and many different processes and many different connections, but all this data, the reinforcement that we saw in the bricks hut, for example, all these, the cages and everything, these are being automatically exported to machinery with just a press of a button, mostly known as Unitechnique. So, and of course, different types, different file formats. So that's what when we are saying a lot of possibilities. Of course, if you have some specific questions, if you are not sure, or we didn't show something that your company maybe does and you would like to know more, do not hesitate to contact us and let us know. Just send me an email or give us a call. You can find again our webpage at StruSoft, like StruSoft.com. This is the webinar for next, as far as I'm aware, this is next webinars. This is on Tuesday, next Tuesday, the September 1st, Holocor 3D modeling and planning. We had the 3D stack and transport planning, as I told you, looking into the 3D module of transport 1.1 on the 22nd of September, and then impact design, beams and blocks, new things, erection planning 2.0. Many new developments are coming into the project manager and the production part, and of course design. So if you want to know more, find your region, where you're coming from, or something that you are close, and contact the people from the sales. I'm pretty sure they are going to be very willing to help you. This is me also. And so please contact us and let us know if there is anything we can do for you. Any other questions, please? Now is the time. We took a lot of time of your schedule, so if you have any more questions, now is the time.
I guess we could, I mean, Paul's questions about the data is that something that we have been working on is the Impact API that can be used for programmatic communication with the database. So you can actually use that for integration between Impact and your system, if your kind of system you have to I mean, you can create projects, you can get your element data.
You can basically manipulate all the information. We have opened an API for people who are having their own IT departments and their own you know, programmers. So you can export and take data
and we have
from
done
the system.
Special API implementations for several companies that want specific API calls or specific information out from the Impact database to their own business systems or such.
Excellent, Christopher. Thank you so much for today, man. Excellent, very good work.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
Yeah, I hope I'll see you soon. We are not allowed to travel between Denmark and Sweden most of the time, so we'll see you soon in person. Thank you all for attending the webinar today. I hope you are having a very good afternoon and or night or morning, depending on your time zones. And yeah, please join our next webinars, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Cheers, guys.